The pear is one of the world's oldest fruits. Early American colonists brought the pear to the eastern colonies, but they found that the growing conditions there were less than ideal. As the pioneers made their way west, better conditions were found for pears. These days, the majority of the pears eaten by U.S. consumers come from the Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon. But somewhere along that route from east to west, pears realized that they kind of like central and southern Iowa, too. I'm Charity Nebbe. On this episode of Iowa Ingredient, we'll meet a pear grower from Jefferson, Iowa. His grandfather planted these trees, and they're still going strong. Pears, of course, are delicious on their own, but a clever cook can do some wonderful things with pears in the kitchen. Chef James Calkins will show us the way. All that and more coming up next on Iowa Ingredient.
Funding for Iowa Ingredient is provided by the W.T. and Edna M. Dahl Trust, Chef Lisa Laval of Trellis Cafe and the River Center, and Chef Michael Laval of the Des Moines Embassy Club. For more than 100 years, the Des Moines Embassy Club has provided a place to dine, celebrate, and do business, located in downtown Des Moines and in West Des Moines. And Friends, the Iowa PBS Foundation.
Making this brown vegetable stock is actually seaweed.
Olive oil, honey, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and lemon juice.
It is. These are really, really good. Salud.
Salud.
There are 3,000 varieties of pears grown around the world, and this fruit has a storied past. Once upon a time in China, the pear was thought to symbolize immortality, and if a pear tree was destroyed, it signaled a tragic or untimely death. Here in Iowa, things are a little less dramatic. A pear tree can happily grow on its own in the backyard or live amongst its cousins, the apples. Pear trees flower beautifully. They can produce abundantly, and the fruit needs to be harvested by hand. But trust me, it's 100% worth it.
We are a century farm, so my great-grandparents moved on to the site in 1917, and there was an orchard established there. Most people that farmed back in those days, everyone had a few trees of apples, just for their own family's use and consumption. My great-grandfather decided that he really liked apples and growing apples, so he was the first one to really set out any sizable orchard. And they had their first harvest, I think, in 1940 or 41.
Almost 80 years later, Benji Deal and his family are still selling apples at Deal's Orchard near Jefferson in central Iowa. Their 45-acre orchard boasts 30 varieties of apples and a few pears.
The majority of them are a Lincoln pear tree. It's a starchy pear. They're planted by my grandfather. He chose the Lincoln pear variety of tree because it's immune to a disease, a bacteria called fire blight, which can do a lot of damage in orchards. So that was the main reason he put that one out.
Growing pears can be easier than growing apples because they aren't as susceptible to insects and diseases. And once a pear tree is mature, it can produce a lot of fruit in a short window of time.
We kind of treat them the same as apple trees. We'll prune them like an apple tree. These pear trees are a standard tree. I guess in general, they're a little bit more hardy than apple trees. They can withstand colder temperatures a little bit.
Pear trees produce a shapely fruit that's sweeter and softer than an apple. Colors vary from red to green to brown to yellow. Most pears, but not all, have that recognizable elongated shape.
The texture of a pear is distinguished by a very fine grit made from clusters of stone cells in the flesh.
For the Lincoln pear, I like its tartness. I enjoy the starchiness on that. Some pears are really dense and they will go they're kind of soft. So this one has more of a crunch to it if you pick it a little bit greener.
Unlike most other fruits, pears ripen best after they're picked. Store your pears on the counter until they're ripe, then refrigerate. The best way to see if they're ripe is to press gently near the stem with your thumb. When it gives a little, it's juicy and ready to eat.
Most of the time, we would just sell them by the bag. And then, probably 5 or 6 years ago, we thought, well, we've started making hard cider from our apples. Maybe let's try making pear cider, or perry, from the few pears we had. And so I think it was probably 2015 or 2014 that we tried making our first pear cider, and we really liked it. And so all of our pears now go into pear cider or perry. It's enjoyable just to be a part of a tradition, and I really like seeing people come out year after year and get to know them. So you get a good relationship with a lot of people that are here every year, and it's fun to hear their stories too, of how they grew up and have memories coming out here with their parents or a certain variety of apple. So just I think the tradition is kind of fun to be a part of.
My name is James Calkins, and I became a chef because I enjoy cooking, I enjoy the work, the stress, the fun of it, cooking for people. I always kind of thought I wanted to be a chef, but I think once you deal with the pressure, the stresses of working in a kitchen, then you kind of know, like, all right, this is something I want to keep doing. It's not just like, all right, I'm over this. Well, it's farm table, but in Iowa that's tough because farm table can maybe mean 6 months out of the year. But with the fact that we work, directly with the farm, eggs, pork, beef, all come, 2 miles outside of town. So, at least that aspect runs year round. I wouldn't necessarily call it comfort food, but it's just hearty meals. It's not just the old-fashioned blue plate special. It's chicken, bacon, spinach, mac and cheese. It's a chili cheeseburger on a cinnamon roll. Just try to do fun stuff, keep people interested, give them something to look forward to, or even, engage people a little bit too. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be just a few ingredients put together well. This weekend, our French toast special was, I did a chocolate bread, so a little cocoa powder in with my usual bread. We put some Nutella and some white chocolate on it and made a sandwich out of it, and a little bit of Great River maple syrup with it. People love it, it's something different. But it's nothing complicated. I get to interact with people, I get to cook food, I get to come in and take time before the restaurant's open and do the things I kind of want to do and cook for the people of Harlan.
And now we're here in the kitchen with Chef James. We're gonna do some cooking with pears. What are we gonna make first?
We're gonna start with a pear bread today.
Okay, pear bread. That's one I have not heard of before.
Well, it's an easy, quick bread recipe and pretty simple and tasty, so.
Nice, let's get started.
Well, we're gonna start by grating some pears. So I don't peel them. I don't, core them or anything. I figure if you're putting them on the grater, it's less waste. You're not gonna,
Well, it's a whole lot less work.
Well, there's a lot less chance of, ruining your fingertips on the grater. So you can just work around the core just like like you're eating it. And then we'll grate all 4 pears and. All right, so that finishes up the pears.
Nice. We've got a nice pile of shredded pear.
And one thing that works well too is you don't have to have ripe pears. You can use them when they're still hard and it works just as well. So then we'll move on to the dry ingredients.
So when you have 500 pears from your tree, this is a great
you don't have to let them sit there and all ripen. So then we'll take our dry ingredients. We have 3 cups of flour. We have a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of soda. We have a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we have a half a teaspoon of cardamom. Cardamom's a lot like cinnamon. It's a little bit less spicy.
All right.
It's fun to use. It gives it a little different flavor. Also, you find sometimes people have allergies to cinnamon, so you can use it in cinnamon rolls or any recipe and kind of get that same flavor.
Well, pears have such a mild flavor. Does that give you a little more room to experiment with flavors that can augment that?
Well, and then that way it's not just overpowered with cinnamon. It still kind of gives it a little bit something different.
All right.
And we'll set that off to the side, and then we'll come to our wet ingredients. So we're going to start off, I'll just set that, with 3 eggs. So we got some nice farm fresh eggs. And then we're going to take and whisk these until they come together and they start to get a little bit light. Add in a cup of oil to that. Oil helps keep things nice and moist. So then we're going to mix that until it starts to get emulsified and nice and thick. And then into that, we'll add our 2 cups of sugar.
Plenty of sugar.
Plenty of sugar. It started off healthy.
Right. Just focus on the pears.
So just get that nice and mixed up. And then we'll add in a teaspoon of vanilla and a cup of milk. Switch away from the whisk. You can keep using the whisk, but I feel like
You're gonna get a lot of pear stuff in there.
Yeah, that makes it just harder to clean. So we'll go ahead and add in our pears. And then to that, we'll add the dry ingredients. And just kind of folding those in. They don't have to be over mixed or anything crazy. You're just kind of bringing it all together.
Just getting them wet.
So now we've got this all mixed together. There's no dry pockets of flour in there. We'll go ahead and we'll put it into a greased
All right.
loaf pan. This recipe is probably enough to make 2 loaves like this.
I was just going to ask you that.
You can also experiment with different, other cooking vessels as well. If you want to do it in a cake pan, it's going to, you may want to do it too full, but you could build it into a cake or a similar recipe.
You could definitely do muffins.
Yeah.
All right, and you only filled that about half full.
Yeah, so that leaves room for it to rise, and so.
All right, so we'll put that in the oven, 325 degrees for how long?
This will be about 45 minutes, and then depending on, 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll test it with a toothpick and see how it does.
All right, great. right, we have this beautiful pear bread, but now you're going to make it into something even better.
Yeah, so we're gonna take and we are gonna do some chef-stuffed pear bread French toast.
Nice, all right.
So we're gonna start with our batter first. We've also got our pan over there preheating, so take a couple eggs. Whisk those up nice to break them up.
All right.
And we're gonna throw in our sugar and our cinnamon.
And you cut this recipe in half because we're just going to make a couple of slices
we
right
don't
now,
wanna...
but you can just adjust it to how many slices
and if,
you want to make.
and somebody's going to eat half the loaf warm anyways, you may not have too much left at the
That's true.
to make into French toast. Then we're going to take a little bit of whole milk and a little bit of cream too, just to make it nice and gives it a little bit more thickness, kind of, and that richness.
And this bread has actually sat for a couple of days, which makes it kind of ideal for French toast, right?
Yeah, so it kind of dries it up a little bit. Somewhere around an ounce or so of chef cheese, and we're just going to spread that in there. If you let it warm up just a little bit so it's not straight out of the fridge.
It'll spread a little bit better for you.
Get a little bit of butter in there, just because butter's better. Now, since there is a lot of sugar in this, you don't want to have your pan too hot. If your pan's too hot, it's going to caramelize too quickly. It's not going to get hot all the way through.
Okay.
Just not do what you want it to do. So make sure it's on, medium, maybe to the medium-low side. It's not going to hurt if it, takes it a few minutes to cook.
Right. Oh, wow, that looks perfect.
We'll make it look pretty for everyone, and we'll just give it a little bit of powdered sugar on there. Just give that a cut in half.
All right. And the chev, that goat cheese, is nice and melty, but it held together well.
Yes,
That's
it's not
great.
oozing out everywhere.
And you're a dipper, not a drizzler.
Yeah, well, and you got the powdered sugar on there, and I don't want my bread to get soggy, so.
All right, well, let's give this a try. The sharpness of that goat cheese is so good with the sweetness of the bread. Chef James, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, I've had the most decadent French toast I've ever had in my entire life. What are you gonna make next?
Next, we're gonna make some pear, arugula, and cheddar grilled cheese.
Oh, that sounds great.
So we're gonna start with some good sourdough bread.
All right.
We're just gonna butter it on the outside. This is a good way to use those canned pears from that fall harvest. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll set that in our pan. And then we've got some sliced cheddar here.
You can tell it's good by the way it crumbles.
So this is from Milton Creamery here in Iowa. Gonna take a few of these pears, let them kind of warm up a little bit. We'll just put them on one side so that way it doesn't make it impossible to flip. And then we'll take our arugula. I have just a little bit of reduced balsamic vinegar, so it's a little bit sweeter, less tangy than, straight balsamic vinegar. So we'll give it a little bit of that. And then just a little bit of salt too to season it up.
All right. Nice and simple.
Yeah, give it a nice little toss.
cheese is getting melty.
And we're nice and toasty on this, so
All
let's
right.
move it over to here. Then we're just gonna put the arugula on the side with the pears, so otherwise, you know, it would be almost impossible to flip. Just kind of lay
It's
those
still
on
gonna be
there.
a messy sandwich, but I'll bet it'll be delicious. Oh, perfect. Oh, that's beautiful.
You can use thinner slices of pear. You can refine this, make nice little canapes out of it. But
Nice. Well, let's
for
give it a try.
rustic sandwich at home.
Yeah. It's such an interesting blend of the sweet with the arugula. It's so
Messy.
juicy. It's messy, but the juice from the pears makes it fantastic. That is a really delicious grilled cheese sandwich. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hidden away in a small shipping container is one company's idea of how to re-engineer and automate nature.
We can grow 365 days a year. No matter it's raining or snowing or super hot or drought outside, we can grow inside of here. Basically anytime, any day of the year.
Chen Fry co-owns and operates Friday's Fresh Market in Davenport. It's what is known as a smart city farm.
And when the roots are healthy and they are in this ivory color, and it's just looking really nice and clean.
A smart farm uses a wide variety of new technologies combined with hydroponics to optimize growing food.
This black part is made of recycled plastic bottle. Everything is automated here. We are not dependent on the sunlight, and we're using high-efficient LED lights. They provide all the spectrums that's needed for growing plants. It's just sometimes it amazes me like how big the leaves are, and they are on an automatic schedule here, and everything is controlled by a computer software. We can monitor, adjust, and control everything on a phone app just on our fingertips. A lot of what we grow is hydroponic lettuce, and we grow 6 to 7 different kinds of the lettuce. This is a tray of red oak and a green sweet crisp. We also grow sweet baby kale and herbs as well, mainly basil. But this is a big mission, and we're only at a stage 1. We have 4 layers, and every layer grows, several hundred heads of the lettuce at the same time. The quantity is massive, and it doesn't look that way because everything is just so compact. But when you really take each level and spread them out on single layer, it's incredible that how much we can grow.
The system is not perfect.
Checking the pump and cleaning up any of the dead foliage that might be up here.
Being such a new form of farming, technical issues can and do arise. But for Chen, the benefits far outweigh the challenges.
My favorite part is, I think, the mental part, because it is hard work. No mistake, it's hard work inside of here, but when you're thinking about your hard work actually turns into somebody's health, it is a euphoric feeling. You know, when you have a stressful day and you look at the plants, and they're always so cheerful, they're always so just energetic. So that's why I feel growing itself is just such it's such an experience, it's such a therapeutic process. Plants are my therapist. Plants are they really have this healing power to me.
That's it for this week's show. I'm Charity Nebbe. Celebrating Iowa's people, food, and heritage is always an amazing adventure. I'll see you next time on another Iowa Ingredient.
Keep in mind that circumstances are always changing, so please take a moment to check ahead if you're planning to visit a restaurant, farm, or event featured on the show.
Funding for Iowa Ingredient is provided by the W.T. and Edna M. Dahl Trust, Chef Lisa Laval of Trellis Cafe and the River Center, and Chef Michael Laval of the Des Moines Embassy Club. For more than 100 years, the Des Moines Embassy Club has provided a place to dine, celebrate, and do business, located in downtown Des Moines and in West Des Moines. And Friends, the Iowa PBS Foundation. Generations of family and friends who feel passionate about the programs they watch on Iowa PBS.